Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, Assemblymember. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I have a couple of questions. I only got 5 minutes, so I want to try and get to them as fast as I can. First thing I wanted to ask you about, you spoke about vacant commercial space, and I know we were talking and converting that into low-income housing potentially. But I want to raise the issue of we have a vacant commercial spot here in Staten Island that would make for a great hub for a vaccine center in Princess Bay. I reached out to to your administration, and I'm hoping that that is something that we can move forward on because we don't have a vaccine site here on the South Shore of Staten Island, and I know that you're opening one on the North Shore. Also, Clay Pit Pond Park may be a good part two potential site, the visitor center, because it has a large parking area. The next thing I wanted to touch on is high schools. When are we going to potentially open up high schools? Being a parent of a high school student and a middle school student, I'm looking forward to getting them back for their in-person learning and due to their mental health and all that stuff for all our students. And to top it off, youth sports. When can we get that restarted since the governor gave the go-ahead? And I know it's up to the municipalities. So if you could just touch on those first, please.
Absolutely. First of all, Assemblymember, thank you for the point about South Shore, Staten Island. Staten Island has borne a very tough situation with COVID. We want to create more vaccination centers. We'll get one in the South Shore. We'll figure out with you the right location. Again, the challenge is where's the supply to go with it? Because right now we're hundreds of thousands of doses less per week in supply than what we need. But absolutely want to make sure there's a center on the South Shore. We'll work with you to set that up. You and I have talked about public schools, and I know how passionate you are about it. I am very, very happy that we're bringing back middle school on the 25th. We're now working on the plan for high school. I am absolutely convinced we can get high school back this school year, but we have a few more things we have to work through on how to do that. It is the most sensitive area. I want to be clear because the kids are older, because of the nature of high school with all the subject matter and more movement within a school. We're going to have to come up with a different approach to make that work. But what we do know is the schools have been extraordinarily safe. Every day I look at the positivity levels for the school system is so much less than the rest of the city. And it's a credit to the educators, staff, and the health officials. Everyone's really made our schools the gold standard for health and safety. So high schools, I am convinced we can get them back this school year, but we've got some more work to do. I'll have more to say on that in the next few weeks. Youth sports, I want to bring them back, but I want to also emphasize, of course, health and safety first. A big difference between outdoors and indoors. We got some things to work out. We're having a meeting with the Department of Education this week to try and see if we can get to a plan that we'll be announcing hopefully in the next week or two on that.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to touch on is the potential of legalized adult use cannabis. And I know that, it looks like we're moving towards approval at the state level, but I think we have to do it responsibly. And some of the things that I've raised is, you touched on it in your testimony, is giving local municipalities some oversight in citing. I think one thing that we have to make sure of is that we don't cite those within a quarter mile of a school. That's some of the things that I've recommended in a letter that I sent to the leadership at the state level and to the governor's office. Also, black market sale. We have to make sure that the driver of crime actually can be weed dealing in the streets. As a sergeant in the 6-7 precinct in East Flatbush, when I was a rookie sergeant, one of the first homicides I dealt with was involving the turf war over selling marijuana. That 16-year-old unfortunately died as I was holding his hand, and I watched him bleed out. And oftentimes people don't realize that marijuana, actually the street sale, comes with violence, and we don't realize that. So we have to make sure that we have the resources for that. And I'm hoping that we can partner in assuring that that happens. And of course, the last thing I wanted to mention when it comes to cannabis is driving while under the influence. And I know that the NYPD under Sergeant Snyder and P.O. Kessler over at the highway unit, they have a great offshoot of the DRE program, the drug recognition expert. and they're training police officers on patrol. So I'm hoping that we can expand that and work together on that. So thank you.
Thank you. And really quickly to say, I appreciate very much the points you're raising and the very painful story you told. And I can only imagine what that felt like watching a young man die. Yeah, there's real serious issues here. That's why the legalization has to be done the right way. I'm very worried, honestly, about leaving a big open door to the corporatization of marijuana, because we saw the tobacco industry go out its way to hook young people on tobacco. We saw the pharmaceutical industry, what they did with opioids. I'm urging that you and your colleagues create a legalization schema that focuses on keeping this new industry smaller, more local, more grassroots, not something that becomes part of an industry that tries to hook people for the wrong reasons. I'm also very, very concerned that if we don't have the right local ability to control the siting, that you're going to see some real mistakes made. The state law gives us guidance. We appreciate that, but only localities can figure out what's safe and what's appropriate locally. So we have to have that ability. And since there will be a lot of enforcement and a lot of issues in trying to make it work, we want to make sure that some of the revenue also supports local enforcement efforts. It is going to be a lot more complex than us talking about it here. On the ground, it's going to be a big challenge. And if localities are not empowered and supported, this very good idea will have a lot of trouble in its implementation. So I appreciate your point about let's be very careful about how we cite these locations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Madam Chair.